How's it going, guys? Now, there is a very good fight coming up next week, and it's a fight that's kind of gone under the radar, and that's between WBA regular champion at super middleweight Giovanni De Carolis, and he's fighting young unbeaten prospect from Germany Tyron Zeuge. Now, this is a very interesting fight to me, a very intriguing fight. You've got Tyron Zeuge, who's a young guy, undefeated, got a lot of energy, a lot of momentum at the moment, who's ready to fight for a world title. And you've got Giovanni De Carolis, who's a veteran, who's been around for a long time and who's fought some very good opponents, and who, he's one of these fighters, De Carolis. For those of you who don't know who he is, if you were to look at his record, you wouldn't really think he was that good a fighter. You certainly wouldn't think he was a world champion. I mean, he has multiple losses. He doesn't really have a great resume. But if you actually watch the guy fight, and I've watched him fight many times because I watch a lot of German boxing, and I've seen De Carolis fight many times, and he's a very good fighter. He's very solid. He's very fundamentally sound. And in fact, I remember when he fought Arthur Abraham a couple of years ago, and he went the distance in that fight, and it was a very difficult fight. Arthur Abraham had a lot of problems in that fight. And in recent years, De Carolis, he's 31 years old now, and to me, he looks a lot better now than he did in previous fights. In his last two fights were against Vincent Fagenboots, who was the WBA interim champion, who's a young prospect from Germany. The first fight, he went the distance with Fagenboots and lost a very close decision. The majority of people watching thought he won. He scored a knockdown in the first round, and he was completely controlling the fight, but he ended up gassing out a little bit because he over-exerted himself in the fight and then ended up allowing the opponent to just claw his way back into it and then take a decision, a highly controversial decision. Then in the rematch, because they gave De Carolis a rematch luckily, and he absolutely destroyed Fagenboots in the rematch. He dominated him and then stopped him in the 11th round. It was a very good comeback. Like I said, De Carolis, a lot of experience. He's a veteran. He's been around for a while. I remember he fought Lolenga Mock several years ago. For those of you who don't know who he is, he's a guy who, I think he was the first guy to knock down David Haye. He's a guy at super middleweight who punches very hard, and he moved up to cruiserweight and put David Haye on the canvas. So you know that guy, even though he's a journeyman, he's not an easy guy to fight. He can punch, and he is pretty tough. So that was one of Giovanni De Carolis' earlier defeats. But like I said, he's improved since then. And yeah, he's going into this fight against Zeuge. Zeuge is a young guy. He's only 24 years old. I believe he's only had 18 fights. But if you look at some of the guys he's fought some decent journeymen. He fought Nikolai Shaloka last year. For those of you who don't know who he is, he was a guy who was almost in a position to fight for a world title, but then he lost a close fight against Sakio Bika. He also went the distance with Arthur Abraham too, and I believe he fought Callum Smith recently and got stopped. Zeuge has also fought Stefan Bozic, who's a very well-known Germany in Europe. And, everyone else he's fought. He's fought a couple of unbeaten guys, nothing special, but he's fought guys that are durable, guys that are pretty tough. And he's been able to stop most of them. So, I'm impressed with this guy. He's a good, young, unbeaten prospect, and it's his time. He's coming into his prime now. He's got a shot at a world title. He's got the fight in his backyard in Germany. So this is going to be very interesting, a very intriguing fight, and I like the way that these styles match up. And I think that it's a very interesting fight. And what do you guys think? And I mean, probably most of you guys probably haven't even watched these guys before, but I'm telling you guys, this is going to be a good fight. The way that these guys match up is going to be excellent because, like I said, you've got one guy who's a veteran, who's very experienced, and whose skills are coming together very nicely, and who's also shown his durability. And you've got the young guy who, he doesn't know how to lose it. Yeah, he's a really tough, young, unbeaten guy who has a lot of ambition and will bring that ambition into the fight. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to this fight. I've been watching as much footage as I can. I've seen several of these, as I said, I've seen these guys fight live a few times. But I've been trying to come up with a prediction. That's why I put off making this video for so long, because I plan to wait until the week of the fight, and the fight's happening next week. And the reason why I didn't make a prediction earlier is because I don't know who's going to win. It's one of those fights where Zeuge hasn't been tested to the level that De Carolis has been tested. So I don't know how he's going to do. But what gives me some confidence about Zeuge is he's got in the fight in his backyard. so obviously that's going to help him mentally. And De Carolis, if I was supporting him, what gives me some confidence about him is the fact that he's going into this fight with tons of experience. I mean, he's been in with better fighters than Zeuge and has gone the distance or has done very well. So yeah, I'm very excited about this fight. I think it's going to be a tremendous fight. On the undercard, Arthur Abraham is going to be fighting. I can't remember the name of the guy he's going to be fighting. I'll need to double check that, but yeah, Arthur Abraham is making a comeback on the undercard after his devastatingly dominant defeat against um, Gilberto Ramirez over in America on the Pacquiao undercard. Perhaps we'll see Abraham fight the winner. I think that's pretty inevitable that that's going to happen. Let's be honest. Abraham's going to be lined up to fight the winner of this to try and get a world title. These guys are all on the same promotion, promoted by the Sauerlands, and the Sauerlands are pretty cunning that way with in-house fights. So I think that we're going to see Arthur Abraham challenge the winner of this, and it's interesting because Abraham has already beaten De Carolis. So if De Carolis wins this fight, Abraham's obviously going to be very confident that he can win a world title because he's already beaten this guy. So and the fight will be in Germany again. So I think that Arthur Abraham is in a very good position here to get the winner, and he obviously brings a heck of a lot of experience towards either of these guys. Because you got one guy that's just a prospect and another guy who he's already beat. So yeah, that'll be an interesting fight. I'm kind of hoping that Zeuge wins because I just think I like to see these young guys come through and bring some new blood into the sport. And I would like to see Zeuge fight Arthur Abraham because again that'll be another veteran versus prospect. Well, he'll no longer be a prospect if he wins this fight. He'll be a champion. So yeah, I'm very intrigued about this fight, and I'm can't wait to see it. It's going to be fun. Let me know what you guys think. Thanks for watching. I'm out.